my own fault. The House will come back to order. Members, very briefly, dinner is served in the side chamber. The assignables have provided pizza for us, so feel free to make your way over there at some point. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move that the following bills be made special orders at 4:30 p.m. House Bill 1266, Senate Bill 185, Senate Bill 250, Senate Bill 155, Senate Bill 156, House Bill 1158, House Bill 1161, Senate Bill 152, Senate Bill 70, Senate Bill 86, House Bill 1201, Senate Bill 143, and Senate Bill 20.
Seeing no objection, the bills listed by the Majority Leader will be made special orders at 4:20 p.m. What did you say? 4:30. I'm terribly sorry. 4:30. Representative Valdez. Seeing no objection, the House will now resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders. Representative Valdez will take the chair.
committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen on your iPads, and bills will be laid over upon motion of the majority leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1266.
House Bill 1266 by Representatives Brown and Ricks, concerning the suspension of a reverse mortgage from the payment requirement when a force majeure renders the subject property uninhabitable as a principal residence.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We move House Bill 1266 and the committee report.
All right, to the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the committee, we had a robust discussion. We have, you might remember from earlier today, that we had some really robust stakeholding. And so we offered an amendment, and that is the amendment that's reflected in the committee report. And so we will ask for an aye vote on the committee report. But I want to yield, but before that, I want to yield to my colleague from Mesa County.
Representative Taggart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to put forth Amendment 008 to the Committee of the Whole, or excuse me, yes, the committee report.
I
And I
think you
ask if you could display
I would just
it.
have you say I move the amendment and the number, just so we have it right on the record.
Okay, I move Amendment 008 and ask that it be properly displayed.
All right, L008 is moved and displayed. Please tell us about the amendment, Representative Taggart.
This particular amendment, and I really appreciate the prime sponsors listening to me, this amendment approaches two things that I was concerned about. One, that we're very clear about the fact that reverse mortgages, that HUD has a role in reverse mortgages, and that we acknowledge that. And secondly, in the actual committee report, we have very specific guidelines that the borrower needs to go through. And this amendment also touches on that at the time of closing of the particular loan, that this information be disclosed so that borrowers know exactly what is happening when it comes to a disaster of this nature, and what the mortgage companies are going to expect out of them. And I ask for an aye on this particular amendment. Thank you.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you to the Chief Clerk for providing me a copy of this amendment, L008 to House Bill 1266. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. Both my colleague from Grand Junction and I have a very serious concern that we've talked about, and that is that our senior citizens have the proper disclosure information so they know what they're getting into. It's clear to them. We've done this in other statutory, in other areas through statute. If you think about things like buying a car, there's a Fair Lending Act that says they have to provide all the terms of the lending, the pricing, information. So when you're buying that car in Colorado, the information is fully disclosed, and also there's a return policy that they have to honor. Mr. Chair, I use that because I just had to recently buy a car for my wife after she wrecked in a terrible snowstorm, her old car. And we had to come to Denver and purchase another car because her car was totaled. And we went through that litany of paperwork. So with this, what Representative Taggart is asking in this amendment is particularly line 6 through 8. At the time of closing, the lender shall disclose the requirements of subsection 2B.5, parentheses I, Roman numeral I, of this section to the borrower in writing. That's part of that disclosure. I'm not sure exactly what language that should be there, but I think particularly to protect our senior citizens, who, ladies and gentlemen, oftentimes are vulnerable. They can be taken advantage of. In these particular financial situations, oftentimes with reverse mortgages, they've depleted their savings and their retirement reserves, and this is one of their last options to maintain that standard of living, to start using that equity they've built in their home over time to meet their financial needs. I just want to make sure to the bill sponsors, and I mean this with the utmost sincerity, I truly do. I want you to understand that I really do, that we've got to take care of our senior citizens. My mother's elderly. She doesn't remember things like she used to. She's forgetful, and people can take advantage of that. And people have tried to take advantage of my mother. And because she has 3 sons, we're always talking to her, we're watching out for her, and a lot of times we've had to walk some things back that she's gotten herself into that were bad decisions and very costly decisions. And Mr. Chair, I'm not going to do this, but I could tell you a story about my mother and something like this. I'm not going to tell this story, sir, but people try to take advantage of old people. And when they're financially distraught or perhaps perceiving there's some financial distress, they'll make bad decisions. If we don't have full disclosure, that is why I stand behind my colleague and representative, a thoughtful, experienced man who understands the importance of these things. Please consider what my good colleague and friend brings forth when he brings these amendments, and I will be a yes.
Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, we ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
All right, seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L008. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it. L008 is adopted. Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report to House Bill 1266. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. Representative Ricks to the bill.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, we ask for your aye vote. We know that seniors, the home is like the biggest asset, and we're all about supporting reverse mortgages. We want to make sure that people are protected if their houses become uninhabitable due to a flood, force majeure, or something beyond their control. And that's what this bill is attempting to do. So we ask for your support.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, and I want to thank my colleagues from the other side of the aisle for their partnership on this and their quick work. I think we did good work today, and I ask for an aye vote on this bill. Thank you.
All right, seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1266. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1266 is passed. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to Senate Bill 185.
Senate Bill 185 by Senators Marchman and Pelton R., also Representatives Lukens and Catlin, concerning the continuation of the Noxious Weed Advisory Committee and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations contained in the 2022 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 23-185.
All right, to the bill.
This bill will extend the sunset for the Noxious Weed Advisory Committee, allowing the continued success of this program. In 2003, the State Noxious Weed Advisory Committee, housed by the Department of Agriculture, was established in the Colorado Noxious Weed Act. This board consists of at least 15 members, representing diverse communities and interests such as local weed managers, agricultural producers, and private landowners. Overall, the committee makes recommendations to the commissioner on how to improve efforts to stop the spread of noxious weeds and assess ongoing progress and effectiveness. We ask for a yes vote on Senate Bill 23-185.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is it working? Can you hear me?
Maybe a little
Good.
closer to you.
I'm really getting into it.
I can hear you now.
I told you guys, we're being suppressed over here on this side. Members, all joking aside, the Noxious Weed Board and Weed Committee, Advisory Committee have done some amazing things in the state of Colorado. For example, Russian olive trees swallow up more water than you and I would even imagine. They are on the noxious weed list. We are in the process of trying to eradicate them for the Colorado River, for all of the rivers in the state of Colorado. They could not have been done if they weren't on the noxious weed list. There are a number of different weeds that we consider noxious. One of them is Canadian thistle. These plants can take over a farm within a few months. That's how prolific it is. So we are continuously fighting against noxious weeds in the ag industry, in our forests, in our parks, in our community open spaces. Noxious weeds want to take over. The Noxious Weed Advisory Committee keeps these things working. This is one of the things that the state should be doing. It's a good bill. Vote yes.
All right, seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 185. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 185 is passed. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 250.
Senate Bill 250 by Senators Mullica and Kirkmeyer, also Representatives Byrd and Catlin, concerning a 2023-24 state fiscal year transfer from the Severance Tax Operational Fund to the Capital Construction Fund for use by state-supported institutions of higher education and energy-impacted counties and in connection therewith making appropriation.
Representative Byrd.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move Senate Bill 250.
All right, to the bill.
I think before we start, I also have an amendment, and I move Amendment L001 and ask that it be properly displayed.
All right, L001 has been moved and is properly displayed. Tell us about your amendment, Representative Byrd.
So in this bill, we are allowing spending authority of funds, and this amendment will, let's see, how do I back this up and make this cleaner to explain? So usually after something that we do in law is all done with, like if you authorize a project in law, once that project is completed, usually what we write into the law is repealer language that just cleans up our statute book and takes that language out of our Colorado Revised Statutes so that we're not cluttered with authorizing language that really isn't relevant for anything that we're doing today. So because the project that is authorized in this bill will take about 3 years to complete, we are changing the bill so that the repealer language that authorizes this project will repeal after the end of the completion of the project. So I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L001? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L001. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L001 is adopted. We're back to the bill. Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Man. I'm really uncomfortable up here now because this microphone is attacking me. Members, this is a bill that's going to transfer money from the Severance Tax Operations Cash Fund into an account that will allow Colorado Mesa University in Grand Junction to complete a geothermal project that they've been working on. With that geothermal, they will save enough money that they say that they'll be able to reduce tuition by 2% the next year. That's a good return on investment. Allowing the state of Colorado to help fund this will help them complete a project that they've been working on. The other part of the project is to fund an additional teaching and laboratory space for the Western Colorado University's Petroleum Geology program and their Natural and Environmental Sciences Department in a building known as Hearst Hall. These are good projects. They're going to help rural Colorado universities. So I would ask for a yes vote. Good bill. Vote
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. This is important investment in two really critical institutions of higher education in our state. It's much needed, and we can do a lot of good by completing these projects. So I too ask for your yes vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 250 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 250 as amended is adopted. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to Senate Bill 155.
Senate Bill 155 by Senator Zenzinger, also Representatives Wilford and Young, concerning the continuation of the regulation of nursing home administrators and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations in the 2022 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
All right, Representative Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you.
I move Senate Bill 23-155, Sunset Nursing Home Administrators, and the Health Insurance Report, and the Appropriations Report.
Just the public health report today. I'm going to have you put that
Public
mic a
health.
little closer to your mouth. It's been hard to hear folks today, so please speak right into it for us.
We might have to move it up. Okay. We're too tall. Yes, that is better. We have an amendment to the Public and Behavioral Health Report.
I'll have you move the amendment and ask for its display whenever you get a chance, Representative Young.
I move L003 to Senate Bill 155.
All right, that has been moved and it is now displayed. Please tell us about the amendment.
This is a technical change because the language in the bill would interfere with, we amended to include CAHPS checks for nursing home administrators. And this, without this correction, it would interfere with others who are required to have CAHPS checks.
Members, it's getting a little loud in here. If we could just keep it down a little bit. Thank you very much. All right, is there any further discussion on Amendment L003 to the Public and Behavioral Health Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L003 to the Public and Behavioral Health Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Okay, the ayes have it. The amendment is adopted, L003. Whoops. I'll get it. To the bill. I'm sorry, to the committee report.
In Public and Behavioral Health, as I indicated, we did an amendment to require nursing home administrators to have Colorado Adult Protective Services checks, otherwise known as CAHPS checks. And we also required nursing home administrators to receive dementia training.
Is there any further discussion of the Public and Behavioral Health report to House or Senate Bill 155? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Public Behavioral Health Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Behavioral Health and Public and Behavioral Health Committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Young.
No, the appropriations report. None.
No appropriations report today, just Public
Even
and
though
Behavioral
they
Health.
made us come, they didn't report it. What the heck? Okay, all right.
Representative Wilford.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So Senate Bill 155 will continue the Nursing Home Administrators Practice Act for another 5 years. Nursing home administrators manage the most aspects of nursing facilities, from medical care and staffing to meal preparation and facility maintenance and sanitation. Most residents cannot totally care for themselves, so a nursing home administrator must understand the physical as well as psychological needs of their residents, especially with respect to issues related to aging and dementia. The high level of responsibility in so many areas necessitate that the nursing home administrators be competent administrators, and that's exactly what this program is focused on. There's one key area that was recommended for a change, and the Sunset Bill accomplishes, it simply repeals the requirement that letters of admonition be sent by certified mail. So those can, there are a variety of different ways that those can be sent. This is a great bill, folks. It will continue to ensure that nursing home administrators are qualified and able to provide care for our loved ones in the times that they need. And I would ask for a yes vote.
Representative Young.
Yes, I want to address the safety clause. The department has asked for the safety clause in order to ensure the ongoing needs are met for nursing home administrators' licenses in order to ensure the health and safety of those living in skilled nursing. Thank you. I urge an aye vote.
All right, seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 155. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 155 is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 156.
Senate Bill 156 by Senators Colker and Liston, also Representatives Snyder and Marshall, concerning the continuation of the issuance of certain tax information to a taxpayer by the Department of Revenue and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations contained in the 2022 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies for the issuance of private letter rulings and information letters by the Department of Revenue and making an appropriation.
Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just want to express my sincere pleasure in serving with you, sir.
You as well, sir.
Thank you. So, folks, Senate Bill 156 is a sunset of the Department of Revenue's ability to issue what's known as private letters as well as general information letters. If this bill doesn't go through, this program will expire in September of this year. Really, the only fundamental change is it continues the issuance of these rulings and letters. It allows the department to extend the 90-day deadline, and it allows the department to issue letters and rulings for any issue related to a tax administered by the Department of Revenue. And with that, I'll turn it over to our resident tax attorney expert, my co-prime sponsor.
Representative Marshall, and I'll have you move the bill as well, just so we get that particular taken care of.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to serve with you.
Pleasure to serve with you.
I move Senate Bill 23, TAC 156.
To the bill.
This is an outstanding program. The IRS does that. It's a little bit different. The IRS rulings are not binding, but that's because we don't have a tax court. An outstanding program. Passed in the Senate, both in the Finance and Appropriations Committee unanimously, passed on the floor unanimously, passed our House Finance Committee unanimously, and passed our House Appropriations unanimously. So we ask for your support here on the floor. Thanks.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 156. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 156 is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1158.
House Bill 1158 by Representatives Wilford and Taggart, also Senator Mullica, concerning the creation of the Colorado Commodity Supplemental Food Grant Program.
Representative Wilford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1158 as well as the Appropriations Committee report as well as the Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services report.
All right, to the Appropriations report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met with House Appropriations this morning, and they were gracious enough to provide us some money to move forward with this program. So I would ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations report? Seeing none, the question before us is the Appropriations report to House Bill 1158. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Appropriations report is passed. To the Public and Behavioral Health report, Representative Wilford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We were back with the Public and Behavioral Health Committee in February, which feels like a million years ago. But after hearing this bill, as well as from the number of witnesses, as well as food bank administrators, the committee did pass our bill unanimously. And so we would ask for a yes vote on the committee report.
All right, is there any further discussion on the Public and Behavioral Health Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Public and Behavioral Health Committee report. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Public and Behavioral Health Report is passed. To the bill. Representative Taggart.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you.
This bill is all about the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, which again is another bill for our seniors. And there are about 14,000 seniors across our state that take advantage of this particular program that is administered by 5 food banks as well as county health departments and now district health departments that provide these boxes on a monthly basis. For these organizations to continue to do that, the federal government reimburses these organizations by to the tune of $6 for a box that has $50 or more of food for seniors. Unfortunately, the cost to administer this program is $9 for every box. And so this program, or these dollars requested in this bill, requests the additional $3 to make that up, because we need our seniors to stay healthy. And I ask for your support on this bill.
Thank you
Representative
very
Wilford.
much, Mr. Chair.
Oh, no, we didn't do that again.
All right. Representative Wilford, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just wanted to add some additional context to what my brilliant co-prime just added. So there are, these food boxes are provided to older adults across the entire state of Colorado. In fact, 3 of the 5 major food banks, including Karen Share Food Bank for Southern Colorado, Food Bank of the Rockies, and Weld County Food Bank, are current Commodity Supplemental Food Program contractors, as well as Pueblo County and Consejos County. They also hold their own contracts. The entire state, as I mentioned, is served, and they provide a really important monthly food box for older adults with little to no income. So we would ask for a yes vote to ensure that this program can continue at the level that they've been operating. As some of this, as you all know, the SNAP benefits that had been increased during the COVID pandemic have recently ended. And so our food banks, while we've certainly been doing everything here at the legislature to make sure that folks are fed, we want to make sure that this funding, which is separate from the funding that was allocated in the budget for food banks and the food pantry program, that this funding continues so that this program can continue to serve the 14,000 older adults across the state. So with that, we would ask for an aye vote.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1158 is an important bill, and it is needed. It provides a lot of money, $1 million, to these food banks, food pantries, and across the state. But I have one problem, because you see, one of these is across from my brother's shop up in Fort Collins. Runs a little car restoration shop up there, rebuilding cars. And I've been up there to see my brother. And these are true stories, ladies and gentlemen. It's unfortunate that I have to tell these kind of stories. But up there, across from his shop, where that location is, I've seen lines of people there. It must be at certain times they deliver food, and people come during those times. But here's what I've also seen, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen people pull up in Mercedes-Benz cars and park them and get out with their grocery bag. I've seen people with it's got that little L on there. kind of a slanted L. I think it stands for Lexus, a Lexus car. I think those are high-dollar cars. I don't know. We don't drive those where I'm from. I've seen those cars pull up there. So, as much as I want to support this bill, and I will support this bill, I want to know why, with these programs, we don't have a way to make sure the people that really need, the homeless people, the low-income folks, our immigrant population, struggling single mothers. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that Mercedes pulling up was a struggling single mother. I don't know. With a bunch of kids to feed. I didn't see anything in the back. I just saw one person. Get out of that car. So how do we make sure that the right people, and I'm not trying to be I'm not going to say jackwagon, ma'am, because I know people don't understand that word.
Representative Holzer.
I'm not going to say it. But how do we know people aren't taking advantage that shouldn't be getting these resources? So with that, I just want to make sure that the bill sponsors understand that I'm afraid that there is some activity out there across this state for people that are not deserving, and I wish there was a way that we could do some screening to make sure that the deserving people, the people that are most in need, who you want these things to go to, aren't people that are taking advantage of the program because they know it's free and everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people are just looking for a free lunch and a free ride, and if they're going to take it from these social programs, they don't care because it's free and they can get away with it because nobody's looking. Thank you.
Representative Taggart and Wilford, or Wilford and Taggart? Representative Taggart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to address my colleague, and I appreciate his comments. This program, again, is for seniors that have low or no income, and low is below $17,000 a year. And the other thing I didn't say before, and I know that takes place, is that this also helps our local agricultural community. And I know for a fact that my ranchers and my farmers in my area donate fresh produce to this program that is added to these boxes, and again, to help people. So it's not just processed foods, it is agricultural foods and meats that come from our local community. And I also trust, because I know the folks at the Food Bank of the Rockies, that they're managing this well, and it's going to seniors and seniors only. Thank you. And again, I ask for your support on this.
All right, Representative Wilford.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. And thank you, Representative Taggart, for sharing that additional information, because I really hope that feeding individuals who are over the age of 60 years old and are at or below 130% of our federal poverty line is not a political conversation, because it should not be. We need to make sure that this population, who is oftentimes homebound and has very little contact with folks outside of their own home, has these monthly boxes and these food staples to simply be able to live their lives and not be food insecure. I do want to move an amendment, and so I'll go ahead and do that. I move L003 and ask that it be displayed.
All right, L003 has been moved. We're just waiting on a display. Just one moment. All right, we can see it. Please tell us about the amendment.
Thank you very much. So in this amendment, what we simply do is update the bill to reflect that it's more than simply the food banks that are providing these food boxes. There are two public health departments at the county level, and so we want to be abundantly clear that they are eligible to receive a reimbursement for each box that they are sharing with the community. So this amendment will enable us to do that, and I would ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on L003? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L003. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L003 is adopted. Any further discussion on the bill? Representative Wilford.
Thank you all very much, colleagues. I would ask for an aye vote.
All right. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Representative Bottoms.
This is to the bill.
To the bill. Okay. Yep, we're to the bill.
Yeah, so I thank you, Mr. Chair. I mentioned this in appropriations this morning. This is an important thing. I've been working with food banks for over 30 years. I've actively had food banks in the churches that I've pastored. I've worked with people that do the food banks. There are five groups that get the allocation of this money. $1 million. There's 5 groups that are, well, let me see, I'm not saying that properly. There are 5 groups that are registered. So one of them would be Food Bank of the Rockies, which is a lot of food banks, okay? It's a whole lot of food banks. And Food Bank of the Rockies does a great job with this. But the problem I have with this, and I'm not against the bill, because I like to see the money do this. Well, I do have some problem with the bill because it puts it into the public health arena, and the public health arena within this context is very broken, and they do not get the food where it needs to go. Food Bank of the Rockies does. And I know this not anecdotally. I know this not as a creator of the bill. I know this as somebody that works in this arena all the time, every day. Our church has a food bank. What happens is all of this money is coming from the state. Some goes to places like Food Bank of the Rockies, and then some goes to state entities which are very corrupt within this concept. But when 501c3s that are faith-based try to get some of this allocation, now they're already doing food banks and they're already doing them to elderly. Okay, this bill is not like creating a new thing. There are hundreds of food banks across our state that are faith-based that do this and give Meals on Wheels, all these kind of things to the elderly. I work with these all the time, every day almost. What happens is they say, well, we would like some of this money, and then they get a list from the state that says this is what you have to comply with. And it disqualifies hundreds of food banks that are doing a whole lot more than 14,000 elderly food boxes. 14,000 is a great number. That's 14,000 that are getting fed. That's an awesome thing. But I'm talking about hundreds of food banks that are doing this way better than all these other groups, except maybe Food Bank of the Rockies. They're in inequality with that. But because they're faith-based, they are disqualified on this. And that's the problem I have with this is making sure that there is a place set up so that this can happen, but they're ignoring all the places that are doing this at tenfold better than these other groups, definitely the county health ones and the public health ones. These people are doing so much better, but they never get access to these funds. The bill sponsor and I talked about maybe having a task force to study this, because this isn't something I think, this is something I see the paperwork on all the time. You have to do this and this and this, or you do not get allocation of this money, although they're still going to do it. They're going to do it for free, and these other places that don't do it as well are doing it with state money. There's something very wrong with that kind of system.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1158 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1158 as amended is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1161.
House Bill 1161 by Representatives Kipp and Wilford, also Senator Cutter, concerning environmental standards for certain products.
Thank you
Representative Kipp.
Apologies. I move, I believe it's the Energy Environment Committee report, the Appropriations report, and the bill.
Yes.
Okay.
To the appropriations report.
To the Appropriations report. They appropriated some money, and we made some additional changes to reduce the appropriation.
Is there any further discussion on the appropriations report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the appropriations report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The appropriations report is adopted. To the Energy and Environment report, Representative Kipp.
Wow, we made a lot of changes in the Energy and Environment Committee. Mostly they're like technical things to upgrade standards, change the way we did enforcement. We needed to do that in order to get the to get the appropriation down and to make it more doable for the thing. And there are several amendments to be offered to the committee report, so let's not pass that before we go to the amendments.
Deal. Okay, so did you want to run an amendment to the committee report? Okay, Representative Evans, come on in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We ain't doing that number again. So I just wanted to first thank the sponsors of this bill. We've been doing a lot of negotiations. I really appreciate them coming to table. I've got 5 amendments here to the Energy and Environment Committee report, and I move Amendment L024 to the committee report and ask it to be displayed.
All right, L024 has been moved, and we're just waiting on a display here.
Yes, we're
I only try to make one mistake.
you're good.
All right, that is properly displayed. Please tell us about the amendment, Representative Evans.
No, I've got them down here at the bottom. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So what Amendment L024 does is, after some dialogue and discussion, this removes boilers from the bill because manufacturers talked about it, and also there's some additional regulations around these that would take care of what the bill is trying to accomplish. So I would ask for an aye vote on Amendment L024.
Representative Kipp and members, if we could keep it down a little bit over here, it's getting a little loud. Thank you very much. Representative Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, we are fine with an aye vote on L024. That will take away something that was logistically complicated and make the bill a simpler bill to implement.
Is there any further discussion of L24? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L024. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L24 is adopted. We're back to the report. Representative Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L026 to the report and ask that it be displayed.
All right, L026 has been moved and is properly displayed. Please tell us about L026.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what L026 does is based on a lot of concerns from the manufacturers about supply chain, shortages of products. This just moves the date that some of these things go into effect from 2025 to 2026. This ensures that manufacturers and retailers have enough time to build these new energy conservative devices and appliances and actually get them on shelves so that folks aren't having shortages to get whatever it is that they need. And so I would ask for an aye vote on L026.
Representative Kipp.
The bill sponsors agree and would like to also ask for an aye vote on L026.
Is there any further discussion on L026? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L026. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L026 is adopted. Back to the committee report. Representative Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L027 to the committee report and ask it to be displayed.
All right, we were quick this time. It's already displayed. Tell us about the amendment.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So what this amendment does is this just simplifies the labeling requirements. This ensures that the manufacturers are able to get these simplified labels onto the appliances that still communicate the fact that these are very energy efficient, but without a whole lot of extraneous information. So I had asked for an aye vote on L027.
Representative Kipp.
Thank you. The bill sponsors would ask for an aye vote as well.
Is there any further discussion on L027? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L027. All those in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Amendment L027 to the committee report is adopted. Back to the report. Representative Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L028 to the report and ask it to be displayed.
All right, that is properly displayed. Tell us about the amendment. Representative Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what this amendment does is this just ensures that the department, so typically it's CDPHE that's governing over these emissions requirements, CDPHE and the manufacturers are able to work together to if I could talk, collaboratively to ensure that the pollution targets are being met, but that manufacturers' input is also being taken into account so that we can hit that nice balance of having energy-efficient appliances without impacting price, product availability, and ultimately consumer shortages. So I would ask for an aye vote for Amendment L028.
And
Representative Kipp.
thank you, Mr. Chair. The bill sponsors are happy to ask for an aye vote for this amendment as well.
All right, seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L028. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L028 to the committee report is adopted. We're back to the committee report. Representative Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L029 to the committee report and ask it to be displayed.
All right, that has been properly moved and is now displayed. Tell us about the amendment, Representative Evans.
Thank you. So again, this just moves the effective date for a lot of the different appliances from 2025 to 2026 so that we don't have appliance shortages and ultimately consumers aren't impacted. Very similar to one that I offered earlier. This just touches some other parts of the bill. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Kipp.
This amendment will reduce any remaining opposition to this bill. We ask for an aye vote.
Okay, is there any further discussion of L29? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L029 to the committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L029 to the committee report is adopted. Back to the committee report, Representative Kipp.
Thank you. And just one more amendment for the committee report. We, the sponsors, would like to offer L020 and ask that it be properly displayed.
All
Did
right,
I move it? Did I move L020 and ask that it be properly displayed?
We have complied on both fronts. Tell us about the amendment, Representative Kipp.
Thank you. And what this amendment does is it moves the Energy Star exemption in order to be sure it avoids federal preemption. And this was flagged for us by the manufacturer, so we think this needs to be, we'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion of L020? Seeing none, Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just the inaccuracy of just pointing out the inaccuracy of the word fossil fuel. Hydrocarbon would be a much better term in this case, not just for pointing that out. So, thank you.
All right, seeing no further discussion, is the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L020. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Amendment L020 to the committee report is adopted. We're back to the report, Representative Kipp.
We are done. I think that covers
All
it.
right. Is there any further discussion of the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it. The Energy and Environment Committee report is adopted. We're to the bill. Representative Kipp.
This bill began with a bill that Representative Froelich and I did back in 2019 for appliance and water energy efficiency standards. And so what has happened is things have evolved since then, and it was just time that this bill needed to be updated. And so while we were updating it, we are also doing a couple of other things that I'm going to let my co-prime address.
Representative Wilford.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In addition to updating existing appliance standards, this bill also phases out the sale of mercury-containing light bulbs and adds ultra-low NOx emission limits to water heaters and furnaces. And with that, we would ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion of House Bill 1161? Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just have a couple questions for the bill sponsors. And I've come up here and talked about this before, but I'm going to say it again because in rural Colorado, when you live out where I live, out in the middle of nowhere, you're 25 to 50 miles from anything or anybody. You need appliances that burn natural gas and or liquid propane. You need heating units that burn natural gas or liquid propane. It is a point of survival. When you have the mother of all snowstorms and you're out of power for 12, 24, 36, 48 hours or longer, and the REA Rural Electric Association, your rural cooperative who provides services out there is looking at a county or their particular area and region, and they cannot, because of the way REAs are structured, fix everything. There are people in the country that will be without heat, if not hours, days. My mother will be 88 years old in a couple months. If she can't keep herself warm because we want to go all electric, then my mother may not be alive. And there'll be all kinds of other senior citizens in rural Colorado just like her. And these folks don't want to move to town. They don't want to leave their homes. Now, this could be called the rural-urban divide if you don't understand how we live. One size doesn't fit all. You cannot impose these things unilaterally. So does this bill and does this House bill with these new standards, these environmental standards, is it going to apply to rural Colorado? It's a serious question. I need to know if it's going to apply to rural Colorado across this state. Because if we don't have the energy resources we need just to live out there, I don't want any part of it.
Is there any further discussion? Representative DeGraff.
You ready? Good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right. So a lot of things with this bill. Climate is it says all around climate change. First, all electric grid is incredibly fragile, and we're pushing towards this all electric grid. Currently, we know that the electrical footprint is for the pollution footprint for electric is twice that of natural gas. So if we're looking at decreasing pollution in a global kind of way, it doesn't really matter where that pollution is and that if it is, but that is we're actually creating more with electricity because of the transmission. So natural gas is much more energy dense. So even if you're in town, it makes much more sense to have part of your, there's an old adage, something about all your eggs in one basket. And when you have an all-electric grid, all of your eggs are in one basket. And when you have an ice storm and everything goes down, and when the heat has to come back up, if everybody's heater now runs on electricity, now the fan obviously runs on electricity, but if everybody's heating element runs on electricity, now you have a problem because you have a very vulnerable grid.
I'm always late.
So there's some other things here. So that's the efficiency. One way to make efficiency go increase from an engineering standpoint is to make your factor of safety go down. When your factor of safety goes down, you have a higher failure rate. So you're going to most likely, well, one, you're going to significantly increase the cost of appliances. You're going to have a higher failure rate of your appliances. And then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to replace your appliances. So in replacing your appliances, any energy that you've saved is going to be offset by the new appliance. So having an older appliance is not necessarily less energy efficient. So let's get back to this. So some of this with the civil penalties being $2,000, this is where you have a good intention enforced by law enforcement. Civil penalties of $2,000 requires the CDPHE to inspect products and report to the AG. And here's one that I like because when I was an environmental manager, the CFLs became popular, and I advocated for waiting until the technology was a little bit more adept because those CFLs are full of mercury. And so they create a lot of problems. But when we go back to the climate goals, this way I'll break out my old calculus teacher mode and ask everybody to go ahead and take out your calculator. Everybody has a calculator. You have your calculator? Got your calculator? All right. Got it? Okay. There's always that kid in the back. There's always that kid in the back of the room. All right, this is learning by doing. This is learning by doing. And that's important. It's always better to learn by doing. All right. So here's why no one can ever... Do you have your calculator? Oh, okay, okay. There's always that kid. There's always that kid. Okay. So we always talk about our climate goals, and then we talk about our carbon dioxide goals, but you know what nobody knows? Is how do the carbon dioxide goals link to the climate goals? And you know why they don't know, or why they won't tell you? Because they don't. So here we go. For the kid in the back of the room. That's the one. The energy in the environment, for those of you who are paying attention, and you should be, because this is important, because this kills people. The energy in the environment, in the atmosphere, 50% of that is by evaporation, over 50% of that. 50% of that is handled by infrared radiation. So we have the kids in the back, they look like they might be paying attention. I don't know, I'm not sure. So 50%. We'll round the infrared up to 50%. Of that 50%, 90% is absorbed by water vapor. That leaves 10% for carbon dioxide. Okay? So we're down to 5%. 1% of that carbon dioxide, 1% of that carbon dioxide is man-made, anthropogenic. Can you not hear me? How about if I stand really close? Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, that sounds ominous. Let me start over. All right. Evaporation, the energy, we're talking about climate, so we're talking about the energy in the atmosphere. Evaporation puts over 50%, so about 56% and then 54% for infrared. That's according to MIT. MIT has a pretty credible science department. Dr. Lindzen, this agrees with Dr. Lindzen from MIT and Dr. Happer from Princeton. So 50, we'll just call it 50-50. 90%, okay. So we're talking about CO2. So these are all around CO2. 90% of the infrared is absorbed by water vapor, not CO2. So that over 90%, less than 10%, maybe around 7 or 8%, we'll just round it up to 10%, is absorbed by CO2, total of the atmosphere. Do you have your calculator out? Oh, it's all in your head, I'm sorry. Okay, of that carbon dioxide, 1% of that carbon dioxide is man-made in a year, at any given time. So that's 1%. So we have 50% is infrared, 10% of that infrared is to carbon dioxide, and 1% of that carbon dioxide is man-made globally. Of that 1%, we have 15% is by the United States. So if we multiply those all together, 50% times 10% times 1% times 15%, we get 0.007%. So 0.007%, I'm just going to round it up and call it to 1 part in 10,000. So if the United States goes to net zero carbon dioxide tomorrow, and this would cost trillions of dollars, the IPCC estimates that by 2100 AD, it will have approximately 1/3 of 1 degree Fahrenheit difference. Make 1/3 of 1 degree. So this not only agrees with Dr. Lindzen of MIT, Dr. Happer of Princeton, it also agrees with the reports of the IPCC and their models that going net zero by that. So 1/10,000. So this, you don't have to panic. You can still have your existential crisis in climate change, and then you can still make everybody's life miserable through the existential crisis. But the only thing that we're going to do if the United States goes net zero carbon dioxide is solve one part in 10,000 of the existential crisis. So let's just pretend it's an existential crisis. If it is an existential crisis, then what you're going to need to deal with that existential crisis is energy. And the greatest and the absolute greatest energy density and most efficient way we can do that is with natural gas and hydrocarbons. So that goes to the bill in the sense that this is all, this $2 million and 3 FTE, that we're going to disrupt the entire chain of supply. And this will solve, so you could take that 110,000 and you could divide it by 50 for the states, or you could divide it by what, like 330 million for your own personal part in this. I just left it as 1 part in 10,000, and that's for the entirety of the United States. So again, we're going to spend $2 million. We have tripled the energy costs for the poor. We've increased their rent. We've increased their utilities. We're forcing people into poverty, and we won't even solve 1/10,000th of the problem. So that's why I wanted you to get your calculators out so you could see
Members, can we please keep the volume down in here a little bit? Thank you.
And I understand everybody wants to keep their existential crisis because it allows you to do all kinds of stuff with government intervention. But in this case, $2 million, you could probably divide that by another couple million before you have any impact. And that's why nobody knows what the climate goals are. So just thought you'd like to know that this $2 million that we're going to spend out of the taxpayers' money will accomplish absolutely nothing. Thank you.
Representative Wilford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank you to my colleague from El Paso County. I'm not going to stand up here and debate climate change with him because we all know it's already happening. So to answer the question from my colleague from Akron, there are already suitable, affordable replacements, appliance replacements that are wildly available, and nothing within this bill is taking away anyone's right to survive in rural Colorado.
Representative Kipp.
Thank you. And as one last amendment on this bill, I move L023 to HB 231161.
All right, L023 has been moved and is displayed. Tell us about the amendment.
Yes, this just adds a severability clause into the bill.
Okay.
I ask for an aye vote.
Fairly simple. Further discussion on L23. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L23. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L23 is adopted. Is there any further discussion on House Bill? Representative DeGraff.
I just thought that was funny. So I just wanted to emphasize my point that yes, climate change has occurred because the solar intensity has increased by 21,000 barrels of oil equivalent since the Industrial Revolution, which is approximately 2 Hiroshima events every second for the 31 million seconds of every year. So that's probably what it is. So again, this is not a discussion of whether climate change is occurring. It's whether the 1 part in 10,000 of the United States contribution does anything. I can guarantee you it does not. So I'm okay with saying climate change is occurring, but it's not because of carbon dioxide. We are making people's lives miserable for absolutely no reason. Not we, you.
Seeing no further, Representative Wilford. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1161 as amended. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1161 as amended is passed. Mr. Sheba, please read. Just read.
Mr. Shebo, please read the title of Senate Bill 070.
Oh, no, 152.
Oh,
152.
of Senate Bill 152.
Senate Bill 152 by Senators Robertson, Pelton R., also Representatives Holtorf and Young, concerning the continuation of the regulation of the custom processing of meat animals and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations in the 2022 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Mr. Chair, I move Senate Bill 23-152.
Representative Holtorf. To the bill.
Your turn.
Representative Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What this bill does is sunset the custom processing meat animal plants. And what this Custom Processing of Meat Animals Act regulates processing facilities for meat products that do not undergo state or federal inspection because the products are for personal or household use. Under the Act, custom meat processing facilities must apply for license and undergo regular inspections at least twice a year to ensure facilities have their proper equipment and abide by safety and sanitation requirements. The Sunset Review recommended repealing obsolete provisions and consolidating duplicative language, standardizing criminal penalties for violations of the Act, and the good news is it moved it from a misdemeanor 2 to a petty offense, and directing that all monies collected by the program from civil penalties, which we don't expect any, be deposited in the state's general fund. I urge and I vote.
Representative Holtorf.
Madam Chair, I also urge an aye vote. I want the chamber to know that the new date is now September 2032 as we extend this out. We know food safety is very important. We also know that during COVID, we realized that we lacked capacity in local custom meat processing across the state. The last few years, through the leadership of the Ag Chair and the Ag Vice Chair in the State House and other stakeholders, we have made, and Colorado Department of Agriculture, we have made vast improvements in trying to build upon that capacity, and that has happened and continues to happen. But with food safety at the top of mind, which is what they say now, top of mind, I learned that, this is very important, and so I urge an aye vote, and am pleased to stand behind my colleague from House District 50, which is a beef production powerhouse in the state of Colorado. And if she knew how many times I had hauled cattle into JBS for processing from our feedlot, which I won't have the time to talk about, she would be amazed at how many times I've spent in her district. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Weinberg.
Well, thank you very much kindly, Madam Chair. I do appreciate you very much giving me the time of day to speak. I just want to speak here by now to this bill right here, you know, because I like sunsets. It says sunset in the bill. I like sunsets. This is a great bill.
To the
In the
bill,
words of
please.
Yosemite Sam, I'm grateful to come with my 50 over down to these here well. Make sure I can play with the knob. It goes up and down. And I urge, and I vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Back in the day when I was growing up in Nashville and they were processing food, I came up with this here poem for my bill sponsors. Meat is neat. Meat is neat. The bill sponsors are too. Keep slaughtering meat so our stomachs are complete. I urge a yes vote on this here bill. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Titon.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. When it comes to problems that you have with your community butcher, it's a local beef, and it should stay there. But when it comes to top shelf meats, the stakes are high. So with this bill, I urge a ribeye.
Representative Bottoms.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we need to bring some decorum to this discussion. So I just want to tell you about a time out on the Eastern Plains when I was driving my truck right around sunset, and my 4 daughters brought me 5 daughters. Sometimes I forget. Chair, sometimes I forget these things. But I'm gonna come back to the bill. Thank you, Madam Chair, I appreciate your leadership. I'm gonna come back to the bill. And my 5 daughters, one time we were out shooting coyotes in the sunset, and I forgot, what was this bill? But thank you for your leadership. I'm gonna get back to this bill. And I vote for all the people I want to urge an I vote for all the people that understand the difference between the urban and culture. Sir, I'm doing something right here. Madam Chair, I'm going to get back to this bill and urge you an I vote on this.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My friends from rural Colorado often forget about the San Luis Valley because that is also rural Colorado. And I know a thing or two about bridging the urban-rural divide. And, we have coyotes and we have everything out there in the San Luis Valley. But what I would say is, Senate Bill 23-152, now that's a good bill. And that's a good bill for rural Colorado, the San Luis Valley, and I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 152. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Senate Bill 152 passes. Mr. Shivo, please read the title to Senate Bill 070.
Senate Bill 70 by Senators Kolker and Kirkmeyer, also Representatives Young and Armagost, concerning mandatory annual training by Safe to Tell for school resource officer training.
Representative Young.
I move Senate Bill 2370, and I'm thinking about interviewing my co-prime to find out what we might be in store for as we move this bill.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 0.
We really wanted to.
Oh, to the bill.
To the bill. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to give you guys a heads up of what this is about, this is a requirement for training for school resource officers. This isn't a requirement to have school resource officers. That's a different bill. This bill is under current law, school resource officers are encouraged to complete the training that they have to complete through POST, Peace Officer Standards and Training, to be able to fulfill their duties as a school resource officer. This bill would require them to have attended the training prior to starting, or if they have to start without the ability to attend the training, it's as soon as reasonably possible, but it's still a requirement. So this is what gives them the some great training for school resource officers. With the training that they get, you're talking child psychology. There's a lot of different things that are implemented in the job of being a school resource officer. These are some of the most intricately picked, hand-selected people for these positions. So with this bill, it helps codify the need for school resource officers simply because it requires that level of training that they need to have to be able to perform their duties as best as possible.
Representative Young.
In February alone, Safe to Tell reports about school safety increased by 26% in Colorado, with the top categories being suicide and bullying. By increasing the number of SROs who have this training and understand how to appropriately respond to Safe to Tell reports, they'll be more effective in addressing this shift and preventing harm to students. As my co-prime indicated, it includes adolescent psychology, trauma-informed practices, and support for students with disabilities, which will increase the likelihood of an appropriate response. I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further? Representative Armagost.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the other part of Safe to Tell, for those of you that don't know what Safe to Tell is, it's the basically application through Department of Homeland Security where people are able, students, anybody is able to report bullying, any kind of an incident or threat through Department of Homeland Security on the application of Safe to Tell. So that is the foundation of this bill and the training that goes into these school resource officers as well. I urge an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 070. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Senate Bill 070 passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of Senate Bill 086.
Senate Bill 86 by Senator Hansen, also Representatives Hamrick and Soper, concerning student leaders, institute modernization, and in connection therewith making and reducing an appropriation.
No, I don't think so.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 86.
To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So what this bill does is it continues the Colorado Student Leadership Institute, which is housed at the University of Colorado, Denver. It's been a great success program for developing student leaders. But what's important about the bill is it moves it from being under the Department of Higher Education to the Department of Education so that it's in the appropriate place in law. And then it focuses on students who are in STEM studies, or STEAM studies, I should say, including the arts, international social studies, young entrepreneurs, and the most pressing social issues of our time. Students have to do a project based on Colorado history, and 50% of the students are required to be eligible for free and reduced lunch and/or first-generation students. It helps them get into college. It's been a major success program. It's resulted in many of these students going on to earn degrees and then to be entrepreneurs and leaders all throughout Colorado, and would ask for a yes vote.
Representative Hamrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is my honor to join Representative Soper and Senator Hansen in bringing Senate Bill 2386 to you. The Colorado Student Leaders Institute, COSLE, is an exceptional program that our bill will help to continue with a slight tweak, where the responsibility of the program will now be with the CDE and not the Department of Higher Ed. Having spent 32 years teaching at a high school that serves high-need students and countless first-generation students, this program is one which gives a diverse group of students from across the state the opportunity to experience a rigorous academic 4-week residential program, science, technology, engineering, art, and math or international social studies on the campus of CU Denver, where each student earns 3 hours of college credit. 80% of students participating in the program remain in-state for college and career, with 90% completing a 4-year degree in 4 years, which is besting the national average of 6 years. Many of my former students have participated in this program and gained valuable knowledge, experience, and skills. I'm honored to support the Colorado Leaders Institute, and I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 2386.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 086. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
Yes.
Senate Bill 086 passes. Mr. Shibble, please read the title of House Bill 1201.
House Bill 1201 by Representatives Doherty and Soper concerning prescription drug benefits contract term requirements.
Representative Doherty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1201, the Appropriations Committee report, and the Health and Insurance Committee report.
Thank you to the Appropriations report.
Appropriations report.
Representative Soper.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. In appropriations this morning, excuse me, we ran one amendment, and this was to add parity between Kaiser and the different models the different models for insurance, so that they would all be treated the same under the bill, and would ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the appropriations report. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The appropriations report passes. To the Health and Insurance report, Representative Doherty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In Health and Insurance, we ran a few amendments that removed AG authority, regulatory authority, as well as HCPF audit rulemaking authority over ERISA plans. It placed sole authority with DOI to regulate PBM spread pricing in the fully insured market, provided a voluntary opt-in for self-insured ERISA plans who want to leverage the bill's transparency. We made the transparency provision between the PBM carrier and the employer-sponsored plan ongoing, and prohibited spread pricing in Colorado's Medicaid program. We asked for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion on the health insurance report, the question before us is the adoption of the health and insurance report. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. The health and insurance report passes. To the bill, Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So House Bill 1201 concerns prescription drug spread pricing prohibition here in Colorado. We join other states in going down this path. So what we're saying is that the bill will save employers here in Colorado money and employee benefit costs by reducing their prescription drug costs. The bill with the amendment has, or amendments I should say, has 4 key provisions. It prohibits a pharmacy benefit manager, PBM, or insurance carrier affiliate from spread pricing the insured market and creates a voluntary opt-in for self-insured ERISA plans, including Taft-Hartley plans, to leverage the transparency and savings components of the bill. Creates transparency for employers on critical prescription drug pricing factors in place with their PBM or insurance carriers, which reduces PBMs or carriers' attempts to preserve profits through opaque pricing mechanisms, and broker and consultants can leverage this transparency information when negotiating on behalf of their valued clients.
Representative Doherty.
And just to expand on that, it also allows employers to make voluntary decisions on how they wish to leverage the savings, and adds a spread pricing prohibition for Health First Colorado, ensuring the state and taxpayers pay a fair price for prescription drugs dispensed to Medicaid members. And we would urge an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1201. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. House Bill 1201 passes. Mr. Shibble, please read Senate Bill 143.
Change it up.
Senate Bill 143 by Senators Fenberg and Van Winkle, also Representatives Kipp and Soper, concerning the administration of the existing retail delivery fees collected by the Department of Revenue and in connection therewith making, reducing, and appropriation.
Representative Kipp.
I move SB 23-143 and the committee report.
All right, to the appropriations
Committee
report. To the appropriations report. Representative Kipp.
In the appropriations report, we changed a date and they gave us some money.
All right, is there any further discussion of the appropriations report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the appropriations report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The appropriations report is adopted. To the bill, or to the bill, Representative Kipp.
So the retail delivery fee is a fee that was imposed based on a transportation bill that we passed a couple years ago. And anyway, it's been very difficult for people to implement. So what we're doing is we're basically making it simpler for people to comply with the law in this bill. And that's basically it. And I'm happy to have my co-prime join me. Sure.
Representative Soper.
Merci. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, as my co-prime sponsor, Representative Kipp just described, it really does simplify it to help Colorado's businesses. Whether you agree or disagree with the 27-cent delivery fee, what's most important is that we don't harm businesses by making it to where they're having to pay more to comply with the law. So businesses under $500,000 would be able to not have to pay the 27 cents. They could elect to pay the fee as a business, so they don't need to include a line item on the receipt. Or they could elect to pass the fee on to the customer and list the fee on the receipt. It's relatively simple, but this will save Colorado businesses hundreds, if not millions of dollars in compliance costs. And it's really frustrated, I will say. Every business, whether it was a small mom and pop store, all the way up to big behemoths like Amazon, just could not comply with this because we don't calculate in terms of actual deliveries. So vote yes. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 143? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 143. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Well done.
The ayes have it. Senate Bill 143 is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 20.
Senate Bill 20 by Senator Coleman, also Representatives Judah and Weinberg, concerning the timely issuance of a certified death certificate.
Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move Senate Bill 23-020 and the State Affairs Committee report.
So moved to the committee report. Representative Weinberg.
Thank you. Fellow colleagues, the committee was fairly straightforward. The physicians and Catholics organizations came before us and asked for some basic amendments, which both of them were adopted and accepted with no issue.
Representative Jota? Any further discussion on the committee report? All those in favor of the passage of the State Senate and Military Affairs Committee, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Oh, the ayes have it. The State Civic and Military Veterans Affairs Committee report is passed. To the bill, Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow colleagues, if I could have a moment of your
Yeah,
attention.
can we get a little quieter in here? I know everyone's very excited, but please keep it down in the chamber. Thank you.
This is the last bill of the day, I believe. Fellow colleagues, quite frankly, I am very excited to be on this bill with Representative Judah. She has worked very hard, along with her counterparts in the Senate as well. For those of you that don't know, this bill is in part a tribute to Pat Teagarden. For those of you that didn't have the opportunity to meet him, Pat was an institution here at the Capitol, most recently as the policy director for the Colorado Department of Labor. I didn't know Pat personally, but many of you in this chamber did, and know that at his heart, he was a great friend. He was what you might describe as a servant leader. He knew his job, and he was loved and respected on both sides of the aisle by nearly everyone he worked with here under this gold dome. Part of what made Pat special was his humor, energy, and interest in others. He genuinely cared about others, not because they could advance his interests, but because of who they were. He wanted to help, and he was always there with solutions, no agenda or ego. His values and commitment to others made one of the most well-known, respected, and loved civil servants within the state capitol and in our community. He was ready at any time to take a call to help our constituents in our state.
Members?
Teagarden is survived by his wife of 32 years, Chris Lading, and their daughters, Leon and Jade. They went through a difficult and painful process to get his death certificate. His family knew he would want to help make sure others did not experience the same frustration. They asked for this bill. And in some small way, it's Pat's legacy of helping others one last time.
Representative Judah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, please be seated. We really appreciate that, and I know Pat's family does as well. So the purpose of this bill is to make sure that we are standardizing the process for filing a death certificate, and it sets the time in which qualified individuals must complete their responsibilities in processing a death certificate to 72 hours and creates an enforcement mechanism to prevent unnecessary delays in processing death certificates. And as you heard my co-prime say, a lot of times it does prevent the family from honoring the wishes of their deceased and navigating that grief process. So hopefully this bill can help pay it forward, and we make sure that families aren't having to do this in the future. And I ask for a yes vote.
Representative Sopero.
Merci, Mr. Chair. And members, I too rise in support of this bill, although I do want to point out some irony. This bill's title is Timely Certified Death Certificates, and it's at the end of the calendar. Yeah, I know. But, yeah. No, but I will say it has been a problem getting death certificates signed on time. I know that by not having doctors included on the system, it gave them an excuse to delay signing, and that could be like 6, even 10 weeks, I heard in a couple of instances. And that actually opened the door for criminal behavior to occur as well. We had the Sunset Mesa atrocity occur in Montrose, and that was one issue that was involved down there, was the delay in death certificates was actually one way that they were able to operate under the law and to not have their evil acts actually come to the surface sooner. So this is very much needed, and I thank you very much for this bill.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 20. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 20 is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Seeing absolutely no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Schiebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it has under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1158 is amended, 1161 is amended, 1201 is amended, 1266 is amended, passed on second reading, ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading final passage. Senate Bill 20 is amended, 70, 86, 143 is amended, 152, 155 is amended, 156, 185, 250 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Valdez. Members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. Woo! The motion before us is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Dixon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Dixon votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote? We'll come back. Representative Morrow, how do you vote? You're not working. We'll come back. Representative Epps, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Epps votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote? Representative Ortiz is excused. Representative Morrow, how do you vote? Representative Morrow is excused. Representative Weinberg? Please close the machine. With 44 ayes, 17 no, and 4 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. I have one announcement. I just really want to thank Representative Holtorf for his amazing leadership. There was a meat processing sunset bill. Thank you, sir, for your leadership. Okay, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar until tomorrow.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until tomorrow. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A couple announcements. First, if I could remind you to remove any food or drinks you have on your desks so our nonpartisan staff doesn't have to, and also to make sure to thank them for the meal that they provided for us this evening. And with that, Madam Speaker, I move the House adjourn until 8 a.m. Saturday, April 15th. Oh, and dress is casual.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in adjournment until 8 a.m. on Saturday, April 15th.